But by the way, maybe interesting to you, Slovakia is often accused of segregating Roma kids in schools, that they organize separate classes for them. And in some cases, it's true, it's happening, and they're trying to do something about it. Many people are involved. They're trying to stop it. They're trying to improve the situation, but it's ongoing. There are schools where I saw a video where Roma kids are forced, or they didn't seem forced, they seem to agree to it, but still, they ate in a separate room, and the dean or the principal defended this by saying, yeah, they don't even know how to hold a spoon. So we have to keep them separate, and it's better for everybody. So clear case of segregation. So I'm a little bit familiar with this.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying, but so what I'm saying is that there is,
that it doesn't happen in Israel. That's
there
what
is
you're saying.
there is, again, I'm not saying there's no racism. I'm not saying that.
There's racism everywhere.
Like I told you, there's racism against Sephardic Jews and Sephardic Jews to Ashkenaz Jews. There's every society has that, and there's no question that there are people who have
here as well
sentiments that are not anti-Arab sentiments. No question about it. However, there's nothing that is in law like that. The Arabs have full access to the full legal system, the full health system, the full educational system. Like I said, they have exactly the same rights that I do.
So that's what's happening on paper, and that is, if you study the legal text, maybe I believe you can't find it there, I suppose. But could it be that there is some kind of hidden structural mechanism that somehow does open more doors for the majority, the Jewish population, and not for the Arabs? Even if in the legal text you can't find it.
That's true that's true with me. I'm a Haredi Jew over here in Israel, right? There are many people who much prefer the Arabs to me over here, for sure. For sure. The very secular Israelis, are certainly the peace types, they're very, very, I could tell whatever, a terrible story that just happened down in the south. A lot of religious people, Zaka is the organization that prepares people for burial. So they they're overwhelmingly ultra-Orthodox Jews that do this. There are many different people that do, but there happens to be that many and a lot of people were down in the south, collecting bodies and body parts and dealing with all of that. And one of the people told us just like unbelievable racism that he experienced from some of the people that were down there, some of the survivors. Like they couldn't believe that he didn't. They call us like parasites because their sons go to the army and our sons study in yeshiva, and they get money from the government for their studies. And like he was so blinded, this person, he had such a biased picture, like he couldn't believe that this person wasn't only not in yeshiva, but he actually owns a computer business. That's how we know him. He does the security cameras and the networking in our seminary. So that's why I was talking to him. And this person literally couldn't accept that this guy had his own company with 40 employees and contributes to the society. So there's no question that the division exists in every society, and it exists in Israel also. But like I'm saying, there's no question that there's many people that are more sympathetic to the Arabs than they are to the ultra-Orthodox. That's also for sure. And I'm sure there are people that are less sympathetic to the Arabs. It happens to be, in general, Israel is a very sort of nepotistic country, like not only familial, but it has a lot has to do with, there's a word, protectia, which means sort of like, I don't know if that's an Israeli word or if it's a universal word. Protectia means like who makes a very, very big difference in getting stuff done.
You actually have it in Slovak, not in my native language, but in Slovak you have something like that.
Right. So that exists in this country a lot. And and me being like an immigrant, I don't have generational, backing over here. So I, a lot of times, can't get stuff done. And I see other Israeli people who get stuff done very easily and things like that.
Give me one example. What kind you get done?
Like getting a building permit for something, right? Being able to get a building permit. So I know of a situation right now in my neighborhood that there's a certain synagogue that wants to try to get a permit, and they were having a very hard time, and then a person who knows somebody got involved, and
Same thing in Slovakia, by the way.
yeah.
Same thing.
So
Can I give one example?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe for our viewers. I needed an MRI scan. It's hard to get an MRI scan. I had an appointment for the 7th of December, and I got it somewhere in September. It's a long wait. I mentioned this to one of my students, and my student says, "Oh, what are you doing? My mother-in-law is the boss of the whole thing. I will call her." And I got one early.
Right.
To me, this is, what is this?
Right.
But I can mention some cases like that in Belgium, but here it's systematic.
Yeah, I think there's certain countries where that's just more culturally done, and it's yeah. So, however, but I want to make this clear: there are many Arabs that are very wealthy businessmen and things like that, and they're on the inside also. You know what I mean? It's not that like no, it's only the Jewish people that have access to that. There's plenty of Palestinian people that are. First of all, they're in the government also. Like I said, they're members of the Knesset that are, and always has been. It's never not been that way. There's always been Palestinian members of the Knesset. They're on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has a court. It's 15 judges, and now there's one. At other times there were two, depending. It moved, but they participate in every aspect of life, and those who have protectia, they also can help their people do it the same way. So but again, this is so far away from apartheid already, right? Apartheid is where there's a legal system of separation, a legal system of differentiation. Now, the only place where this exists and it's accurate is the right of return. Meaning that, and this is like we discussed in our previous discussions, that Israel was created in order to be a place for Jewish people to be able to live, because the world for those few years in 1945 till 48 recognized how historically the Jewish people have been kicked out of so many different countries and persecuted so many times and never had anywhere to go. So this country was established in order to create a place for Jewish people to go. So people see that as racist, right? That's apartheid. Well, what do you mean? How come you can move there and I can't move there if I'm an Arab? Even if my great-grandparents lived there, but they left, were kicked out, or left voluntarily. Again, big question, right? But to me, that first of all, let's understand that there are 10 Muslim countries around us that Jews are not even allowed to enter, let alone to go there and live there. There are many countries that have these types of laws, right? That this country accepts certain types of people to come and live, and that's the setup. That's the only place where there's a law that differentiates between a Jew and a non-Jew. That's the only place. And even that is not anti-Arab, it's anti-Slovakian or Belgian also, right? A person doesn't automatically get a right to come and move to Israel if they don't have a Jewish grandparent, if they came from Slovakia or Belgium or from one of the Arab countries. So that's the only law, the right of return, which is that they don't even have to be Jewish. According to Jewish law, a person is only Jewish if their mother was Jewish or their mother's mother, right? But according to their law, they defined it the way that Hitler defined it. And if Hitler defined it as only one Jewish grandparent, so then that's the law of return also. So that's the only law that exists, that there's an actual differentiation that applies differently from a Jew to a non-Jew. We can argue whether that's fair or not fair. To me, that's the whole basis for the establishment of the state of Israel, was to be a place for Jews to be able to live. It doesn't mean that people can't emigrate here. You could. People do move here from other countries. However, they have to be accepted and go through a process, etc. Whereas a Jew is automatically, unless they are a criminal or something, right? There are reasons that Jews get rejected as well. What
could be a reason?
People who are criminals, people like very often criminals will, like, as soon as they're found out, before they'll try to run away if they're Jewish, try to come to Israel.
I read about that.
Yeah, I think the most famous one was what's his name, the famous gangster, I forgot his name, one of the big mobsters from
Capote. Al Capone.
Well, like Al Capone, but a little bit later in the man, his name just slipped my mind right now. So he came to Israel and he wanted to live here, and Golda Meir personally got involved and sent him back to America to face trial and stuff like that. So there are people who have, if they have a criminal record or something, then they could be denied. A lot of times people will come here right away to try to avoid, but they extradite people. I know people personally who, where situations personally where people tried to move here and they were sent back and had to face trial and go to jail, etc. But a person with a clean legal record and without any, so then they're basically automatically, it's not automatic, they also have to go through a process. When we moved here, it's a whole process, but they won't deny citizenship to any Jewish person unless there's like a reason to do so. So that would be the only law that discriminates between Jews and non-Jews. But again, it's not a law that's discriminating against non-Jews. It's that Israel was set up to be the country for the Jews. You heard what I'm saying? In other words, non-Jews can come and move here also. They just don't automatically get accepted. It's not.
But I think a lot of people find that to be a very, very strange concept, that a country is mostly open to the members of one faith, if it's a faith, right? Judaism, I don't know, that's also debatable if it's an ethnicity or a faith. But let's say, okay, Jews, they can move there, or they have it easier to be accepted there, or to move there. I think for many people this is very strange. Huh?
I think only for people who don't know anything about world history. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but yeah, maybe I don't get it. And yeah, I get why. Of course, I get that many Jews, most Jews, wanted a safe place after horrible things that happened to them in Europe during the Second World War. But like, is there still a need for it now?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
I mean, there's absolutely. If you don't see that the world's anti-Semitism that's rising.
Well, I'm not Jewish, so I'm trying to.
Right, no, I understand, but I'm just telling you that in the past, number of years. I don't know if you saw what happened in France a number of years ago. There was like a huge increase in anti-Semitism, and tens of thousands of French people moved here. I'm saying people that I know came into this neighborhood.
I remember.
Tens of thousands. The Jews that came from Russia, 20, 30, more than that already now, 30, 40 years ago. The people who were being persecuted that were leaving Russia in order to come and live here. So, maybe, for this span of time like these 5-10 years that we're in and things are quiet, etc., but those of us who know world history and know what happens over the course of world history and how anti-Semitism is never gone, it comes and goes in different times. So I absolutely still think, yes, there is a need for this place, and the fact that we're here and that we have an army that's here to defend us, and that they'll defend and bring in people, like they saved the Jews from Ethiopia, they saved the Jews from Yemen from the civil war there. That's what it's for. We are a people who has never had anybody on the planet that would stand up for us and guarantee our safety and guarantee that they're going to stand for us and help us, etc. And that came to its absolute worst conclusion in the Holocaust, when many countries, right, there was the man, my memory is just slipping in this conversation. There was a conference in France. What was it called? Like a whole conference of an international community that came together, and they wanted to try to, what's on one of the rivers, one of the names of the rivers in France. It's named after that conference.
Seine, Loire.
Seine, is that? I'll have to find. I'll send you a link. We'll put it into the description. But a whole conference of countries that saw what was happening in Germany and Poland and said oh wow, yeah, it's really, really terrible. But at the end of the day, nobody would take in the Jews. And the Nazis even used this in their propaganda. They put up signs, Jews for sale, but no takers. So
it's the same criticism that Palestinians get now. Like, nobody wants these people; they're so awful, they cause trouble. No, that's why other Arab countries don't accept them. It's ironic, but it's similar.
Well, I understand that we can rehash the whole history, their opportunities to have their own place, which they've turned down every time.
We already kind of did that, but let's focus on apartheid.
Yeah.
So does this? Let's say I more or less agree that there is no apartheid in Israel. Maybe I lack some information. Maybe somebody else, like I don't know, people we've discussed, like Max Blumenthal, they would counter with something, or Abby Martin. Maybe they can point to somehow money not going to schools where there are more Arab kids. I don't know it on that level. I don't know.
Okay,
But
but you would have to show that it's money not going to them and also not going to other groups. Meaning,
yeah.
if the ultra Orthodox are treated the same way as the Arabs,
Okay.
so then that's still not apartheid, right? That's still that's a mean government, let's say, that has messed up priorities, etc. But that's not apartheid. That's not anti-Palestinian apartheid. And that's exactly.
I will be criticized for this also by some of my friends, and I will accept that there is no apartheid within the borders of Israel. Within the state of Israel, the term apartheid does not apply. I get that. I'm like, right now I accept that. Does it apply between Israelis and Palestinians? Palestinians, I mean outside, non-Israelis. Does it apply there? Is it a security fence, or is it an apartheid border? Is the treatment of Palestinians in the West Bank, keeping them separate, as the word it means, separateness in my Dutch mind, let's say? Does it apply there?
So I think the whole legal status, the whole legal status of the West Bank is very fuzzy. You know what I'm saying? It's not very clear. There are certain areas in the West Bank. There's like areas A, B, and C. There are certain areas that are officially under the PA control, meaning
this was agreed upon after the Oslo Accords, right?
That's correct. That was what's supposed to. That was what was supposed to be there. They are the ones who are supposed to be policing there. They're the ones who are supposed to be holding elections there for their. You know what I mean?
Have there ever been elections in the West Bank?
Not since Abbas. No. No. I don't. That's nothing to do with Israel.
And Abbas was then democratically elected, and then no more elections.
Correct.
Yeah. So
correct. The same thing with
Hamas was elected in Gaza, and
exactly. But that has nothing to do with us, right?
Yeah. You didn't tell them have no more elections. Okay.
Yeah. I'm saying that's just their. You know. Again, if I tell you how corrupt the PA is and their level of, just unbelievable nepotism and corruption.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of these leaders, and many Palestinians are also no fans of these leaders, I think.
So okay, but yeah, as for the status of the Palestinians that are living in the West Bank, so no, they do not have the same rights as Israelis. But
so is that apartheid?
I don't consider that apartheid.
Why not?
They're not our citizens. They're not citizens of Israel.